Welcome to Radio Free Will, a podcast for sovereign people. I'm your host, George McCullough, coming at you live and direct from Griggstown, New Jersey. With us today, once again, is artist, activist, and philosopher Michelle Mockers. Michelle, how are you doing today?
Very well, George. Thank you for calling me like that. I am very pleased to talk with you.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we talked. We had a break from the show for about a week.
Yeah, but you know, the things do not change much in 1 week. So it was exactly like if no time has elapsed in the meantime.
No, change comes slowly at times.
The change can come very slowly or can be very brusque. You know, it depends if you look at the history of all humanity. Things go long and long and long and long, and all of a sudden they change. Because the long and long and long was becoming impossible to live with. So people were changing all of a sudden, sometimes apparently for reasons which were not reasons. But because on the back of those no reasons, there were some reasons.
And you see that coming down the road.
There is two things today that cannot be avoided. One is the augmentation of the population, the surpopulation. So if you talk about billions, and you know it goes faster and faster, huh? In 1800, there was almost no people. 2 centuries later, you don't know what to do with people. So when you will have 10 billion people on Earth, how do you feed them? What do you do with 10 billion people on Earth? When actually, when you look at even all the economy is using less and less people, paying them less and less. It is very well known that in the US, for example, today you give the basic salary is very small because the guy without a tip. So they depend on tips. So that is not economy, my dear. That's something else.
Right. It does seem like something's in the air. Some kind of change is coming. What that is, I have no idea. But let's hope for the best.
But that's a nice hope for the best, because it has always been. Finally, when you look at the whole history of humanity, when people are fed up, start to be really fed up with a condition, they eventually will do in such a way that it changes. It obliges the head people to change their policy, if you want.
Like the French Revolution.
The French Revolution was something coming from very far. You know, when you listen to play like Beaumarchais, the famous Beaumarchais, the Wedding of Figaro, which was acclaimed even by the nobility because it was so funny that everybody was hearing, but it was very revolutionary. In other words, it took for years to prepare a revolution. Now, the revolution is never made by people in the street. It's made by people in the street because they can break everything, but why? Because they have an idea behind their head. And what makes a revolution is only few people, sometimes one people, proposing something different. The people who are fed up finally find out a reason to make a revolution. The revolution is not made by the people in the street, but by few people who think and give their ideas to the people in the street.
And so you've written this document, The Positive Dialectic, that will serve as a backbone.
The positive dialectic, my dear, is something that exists since the beginning of humanity, if I can say so, which has never been, the dialectic itself has never been used politically speaking. We have I don't know, talk at all about religion, I just talk politics. We have two big political currents and nothing else. We have communism and capitalism. Socialism is a nice thing in the middle. But basically it's communism and capitalism. And both of them make the proof that are not valid. Communists today, we are back with one man elected for life and like exactly a king in the Middle Ages, over the population, and capitalism translate in few people with a lot of money and a lot of people with no money at all. So that is not available in the future, is still very difficult today with 7 and something billion people. It will be impossible with 10 billion people.
I'm not so sure I believe that, because I think the Earth can handle 10 billion people.
No.
It's whether the rich people can handle 10 billion people.
All scientists will tell you that basically the Earth to be quiet, to replenish itself, and it's 5 billion people. Over 5 billion people, the Earth suffer. And I don't know if I can tell you something like that, it's a detail, but when you eat any vegetable today, it has no taste.
Right.
It has no taste. It must be cultivated, I don't know how, artificially how, I don't know. No taste. Nothing has taste. Because it's all produced like that to give the people. So you can eat what you want, it's all the same taste. There's no taste.
I can believe that. My wife and I, Anna, we try to grow as many vegetables as we can. And unfortunately, it is now getting towards the holidays and the garden is just about spent. So
yeah, but you have, dear, let me tell you something. You have the chance to have the possibility to have a garden and cultivate your own vegetables.
Right.
But, you're a minority of people able to do that. About the 10 billion people, they will not have a garden to cultivate that. So how do you feed them?
Well, certainly if there was an equitable distribution amongst people, we could easily feed them.
But how do you that equally distribution? In the name of what?
In the name of humanity. See, my problem with the whole talk about population control is who decides who stays and who goes.
For me, you touch a problem that I have. It's a problem, a moral problem, because I had a discussion. You have many discussions if you want about abortion and no abortion, and you have the political party who support in America, the Republican or the Democrat support abortion, and the others are anti-abortion. For me, it's absolutely out of the decision of a government to decide about abortion or no abortion. Only one person can decide of that, the woman.
The woman.
That's it.
But
and the only duty of the government in that occasion should be to provide the medical attention, whatever the decision, pro or against.
would it be right for the government to say how much money a person could have and how much money a person needs?
But yeah, that's where I'm sorry.
Balance the power.
I'm sorry to go back to my philosophy of the painting philosophy, the philosophy of the arts. But that is exactly what said the philosophy of the arts. When you make a painting, for example, as I'm a painter, you don't paint on the wall, or you're under the painting on the wall under the painting, and it's what it happens with money. The money, instead of being controlled, you have people who have way too much money, and they control the people who have no money. And people who have no money are controlled and can do nothing.
Right. So it is okay for the government to put limits on how much.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be limited to the amount of money that you can own. And there are things like that goes together. For example, there is another thing that bothers me a lot. Elections, we are everything but a democracy in America.
Is it elections that bother you or the results of the elections?
The way it is done.
All right. So how would you change things?
The way it is done, because when you have only, let's put it straight, you have only two parties for the election, the Republican and the Democrat, and that's it. And they have all the advertising, they have all the newspaper, radio, TV, whatever it is.
This
only
is in
those
the
two.
U.S. You're talking about the U.S.
US, yes.
Okay.
So we're home. We're talking about home. So that is absolutely unfair, because you oblige the people to go for one or the other, or they don't go. Actually, I believe that the president has been elected by something like 17% or 16% of the population. People don't vote. They say it will not change anything at all if I vote. So they don't vote, and when you vote, you can vote only. Look at the bulletin that you receive. There are two big names, Republican and Democrats. The others, they do not exist. They do not think, they do not exist. So that is absolutely unfair. And it's and beside that, what is absolutely also unfair is to give money for the election, gift for the election, so that you can push this or this one or that one.
Well, I got to say, most of my life I have voted third party. So people are on the ballots. It's just that I think the American population is so propagandized to think that there's not another choice, or that you are doing wrong if you vote third party. I try to vote for the person I think is closest to my philosophy.
That's where it is absolutely unfair. All parties have to be represented. Not only that, but all parties have to have the same advertising. And absolutely forget the donation, the private donation for the election. Forget that.
Yeah, and the whole process of when they have debates or forums on TV, I really don't like it. They just discriminate against third parties. They're not even allowed to be on the stage. So if they're not allowed to express their views, how are they supposed to be heard by the public?
You're just telling things as they are. That's why I tell you that all parties, a minimum of voice, according to a minimum of voice, of course, to consider a party as a party. But all parties are entitled to the same advertising, exactly the same advertising, the same rights as the two others. The two others are, I don't want to use the word, but it's fascism.
Yeah. Well, what if you did the reverse and said no, you can't have any political parties?
So how do you elect people to represent you then? Because you need people to represent you. There are people who have to have some responsibility to organize this or that. So how do you do that then?
The people would just have to run as independent.
Yeah, but
I mean, eventually people will end up forming parties anyway. I think the United States tried to outlaw political parties in the beginning of.
You know. For example, I know a country that I know better than others because I am born over there. It's France.
Belgium.
France, Belgium, if you want. France or Swedish, if you want. But in France, all the parties have the same possibilities, with one condition: to be a minimum. I believe I don't remember if it's 5 or 6% of the population. So the government pays all the TV, everything for every party. Except if you don't do the minimum, then you have to pay for what you had.
It seems fair to me. It would, if I was an independent politician, I would consider taking the government money, but I would be worried about having to pay it back.
Not only that, my dear, but if an independent is elected, he has to be part of the government. When you look at the American government, it's only Republican or Democrats. You have nobody in the middle of them to raise his voice once in a while. Nobody. They may in such a way, and it's where I say it's not a democracy, my dear. It's absolutely not a democracy. And I'm not sure that we have the freedom of speech and opinion. I'm not sure of that at all. Huh?
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that either because people get banned on social media all the time. Um, Certainly, mainstream media only presents a certain point of view. Working class people rarely ever get
So how do
there.
you call that?
I call it capitalism run amok. I don't know if I see. You grew up in an age where there were out and out fascist governments around. I'm not so sure that I've experienced overt fascism in my lifetime.
No, when I say fascism, it's not fascism the way Hitler was a fascist.
And Mussolini.
Or
and-
Mussolini were fascists. No, no, I'm not talking about that, but the private, to deprive, if you want, the other party of any possibilities. And it is exactly what the Republican and Democrats do. It is what they do, even if they represent basically no more maybe of 40% of the population.
What do you think about in the Democratic primary? It looks like already one billionaire has stepped in and said they're going to run, and now it looks like Michael Bloomberg is going to run. So you will have two billionaires running.
Of course, my dear, of course. Of course.
Can a billionaire represent the public?
No. No. They have the habits of billionaires. And the habits of billionaires are not at all the habit of the little guy on his small house somewhere trying to figure out how he will work tomorrow morning. Forget that. Forget that. So it's why the money has to be limited. People should not have more than that. If they do more, it goes back to the Commonwealth. That's it. But you must not allow some people, like in America, it's very well known, the 1% that owns the most of America. 1%. Who is those 1% of people?
I think it's even
Where are
less.
the 99%? Where are they?
I think it's even less than that. I think it's like 40 people own
The
almost all the wealth in America.
Yeah, absolutely. But that should stop, my dear, because that is impossible.
So how do you propose taking their money away from them, or their power, or their property, or
Not with the actual system. It's impossible.
with
You
the
will
system
never.
we
No,
have
no,
now?
no. Listen. Be very frank. The actual system, forget it. It's in. Listen. The Declaration of Independence and the
Constitution. Bill of Rights.
Come on, they are 3 centuries old. They were written by people. I repeat myself, but they were written by people who were slaves and were not at all considering for any. They are not enough people beside that. They are not enough consideration for the welfare. The only thing they say about the economy, the welfare of the people. They don't give any definition of what is the welfare of the people. And 3 centuries later, we are still with exactly the same constitution. And the welfare of the people is let to some people who do what they want with that. Who do you believe? That's where, when I talk now about the artificial intelligence, for example, if few people own the artificial intelligence, what will happen? They will tell you exactly only what they want to tell you. And they will, the kids today, they have telephones, they have computers. In school now, you don't write. You do with a computer. Huh? So all that is very easy because it's electronics. And electronics, you can go into electronics. You cannot go into the hand of somebody who writes by hand. But you can go into the brain of some person through electronics. So through artificial intelligence, with very few people owning artificial intelligence on the top, they will absolutely brainwash everybody, beginning by the small people. That's it. So that's the future that we are. That's the future that with the actual constitution, political constitution of America, we are well conducting exactly that, because we don't stop people to own the most money. We don't. So they can own the most money and the most power.
So, if you could envision the future that you would like to see, what would that be?
That would have been, my dear, that there is, once more, that there is, you have to have a balanced society, a society where everybody, you don't have some who have really too much and some who have really not enough. So you must have a society where you have people who do not have too much, and one thing is no power with the money. For example, when we talk about election, no private funding of election. Not at all. Not at all. So it's all like that, my dear. It's all like that. So if you have no problem, then you will have not those people who will impose upon you what they want because they win the elections, like they do today. And when you look at the Republican and Democrat, the billionaire or billionaires are millionaires, billionaires. They're all the people we will run because they can run. They have nothing else to do than to run. They have all their money. They are not obliged to be working at 7 in the morning. Eh? So that has to stop. That has to stop. Otherwise, it's the end of it.
What do you think of Bernie Sanders running for office?
Huh?
Well, Bernie Sanders. He claims he's a democratic socialist. He never backs down from that. And
But that goes nowhere, my dear. That goes nowhere. Number one, because the socialists are people who go nowhere. They had some people who even died for socialism in the beginning. Yeah? But socialism is in between. It's a dream in between. They have no specific program. The communists have a very specific program. The socialists has no specific program. The capitalists have not a program, but they use things. But not the socialists. The socialists, they are people in the middle. They are nice people dreaming of a nice world.
Well, you're proposing that there's balance. Wouldn't that be?
Yeah. I am proposing something that you can say is socialist. No, it's not socialist. It's not socialist. Not all the people at the same level. Forget it.
Well, I don't think so. That's what they mean.
No. But it more or less is that, a society which is flat because everybody will be the owner of the production and so. Forget it.
That's good.
That
I
doesn't
like
work. That doesn't work.
That's a democratic workplace. I kind of like that. What, did you break the chair?
Yeah, but you have some people. You cannot.
I think when somebody works in a place, especially if there's a certain number of employees, they should have a say on how the business is run.
Oh yeah, okay. Don't worry, because the employees are more or less replaced by robots and things like that. Today, when you want a piece of something from one of those big companies, it's not an employee who gets in the way to pick it up for you. It's the robots. Whoop! So where there were 100 people to provide the thing that you were asking, maybe there are 2 or 3 people today. So how do you solve that?
What, jobs for people or democratic workplace? Because I would still think that they should still have a say on how stuff is run, even if it's 3 people, if it was 50, or if it was 100 people. They should still have a say on how the workplace.
But what do you do with the 70, the 90, something else? The others which are not anymore working. What will you do with them?
The robots should serve them, right? I don't know.
That's where, my dear. That's where.
We certainly, as a society, have to find meaningful. I believe everybody has value in this world. Everybody is a unique, precious person, and whether they're working or not, they deserve to have the fruits of what society.
So how do you do that?
By giving it to them. Giving it to them. Give them people what they need.
How do you do that?
What do you mean? How do you do that?
How do you give people what they need?
Well, if robots are picking all the apples, then you distribute the apples evenly.
Okay, so you have to distribute. So you have to have a society which will distribute the apples.
Yeah.
Not the actual society. We will distribute the apples. We will sell the apples, not distribute the apples.
Well, if somebody's not working and they can't afford to buy the apple, it doesn't mean that they're
so,
not entitled
so you
to
have
one.
to have a society who would say what you say.
Right.
Yeah, but you have to change the society, my dear.
I
Nothing
believe
else.
that.
Nothing else.
That's what we're doing with the
Nothing
podcast,
else.
right?
And it's where I say, in fact, the robots, technically speaking, to solve the problem, as long as we deal with taxes and money like that, so the robots pay the taxes for all the people they replace. If a robot replaces 10 people, he will have to pay taxes for 10 people.
Out of all the things we've spoken about, I think that is one of the most brilliant things that you have ever said. I think that is a great plan.
You know, we must do two things. We must, number one, avoid that the artificial intelligence be really a monopoly of few people, which is one thing. And beside that, as the people will have less and less and less work for less and less people, so the machine will do the work of those people, have to pay for those people. It's not a question to have your shirt for free. That's not the price of the, forget all the people with those considerations about money. If you replace 10 people with a machine, that machine can take care of those 10 people, period.
I agree with you. I think it's brilliant.
But who's going to own the apples in the first place?
Also,
The
yes.
earth.
Yeah, the question
Who
is...
owns the apple? The question
owns
from
the
the
apples?
audience, who owns the apples?
Who owns
The
the
earth.
apples?
Nobody can own the earth. And that's my belief.
So nobody can own the apples.
Apples are given to the earth free. They're just there. And why they have to cost money is beyond me. I can see that it would cost money to ship them across the country or something like that, but
You've got to plant the trees to get an orchard, to get enough growing, to have enough to feed a lot of people.
yeah.
You know, it's a question. The problem with the society as is today is that some people take advantage of the situation at any level. They take advantage of the situation to make money.
Yeah.
The problem, and that's what you're talking about, the apples and all that, is precisely that everybody has, through those machines, through the apples, who cultivate the apples. Maybe the apples will be cultivated by robots, which is absolutely possible today with all those machines. They can be even taken off by machine, but it has to be done in such a way that all what put people aside pay for the people aside. It pay maybe with apples or with money or whatever it is, but you cannot replace people by machines and forget the people. That's impossible. But the temptation will be that the people will own the machine. That was the industrial revolution. The people who owned the steam engine, they reduced the population around and miserably, in miserable conditions. So today, if some people own the artificial intelligence and the robots, they can reduce the whole world to miseries if they want. And with some gun, they will keep quiet. So we have to avoid all that. And what the apples, we have to see how the apples are cultivated, who gets from the cultivation. Maybe the people are paid for to cultivate, but the apples themselves, they don't make money for one or two people who will own the whole thing. Absolutely not.
The apple trees should be owned collectively.
Yeah, the result of the should be owned collectively in some ways. George, I repeat myself, but because I see that as the greatest, when we were talking about the evolution of humanity evolved according to something called, techniques. The very, very, very primitive people had no techniques at all. So the only thing was to get some fruits or some, meat or whatever it is. Today, everything is organized, so well organized that in capitalist country, don't talk about the other, the communists, that's something else. Communism, something else. But in the capitalist country, it's organized in such a way that it's only like in the Industrial Revolution, few people owning the steam engine. Today, few people owning the future, and the future is basically electronics, nothing else. So if you let few people own that, that is really the end of it. They can reduce the rest of the world, they can destroy the rest of the world.
Well, it seems like the only people that really make out well in the U.S. are people that own monopolies. If you own a monopoly, you are in the 1%.
Absolutely. So it's why the monopoly must not be like the steam engine, because they could afford the steam engine. So they could afford to build a dirty town around. And today it's exactly the same thing. It's not the steam engine. It's the electronics. It's the artificial intelligence. So if you let some people have the monopoly of that, that's the end of it, mate.
Well, if you and also think about the steam engine, you're talking about the railroad. Once those people gained enough power, then they just stole the land from all the people to put the tracks on.
Oh, come on, absolutely. First the canals and then the trains.
I mean,
and
the steam
road,
engine in and of itself is not worth all that much. It's the actual
No, but when you look
transportation.
at who was owning the world at that time, my dear, it was few people owning the transatlantic, company, few people like that, and that was it. So, in other words, if we give the monopoly of artificial intelligence and robot to only few people, it's the end of it, man. And it's the end of it because the Earth will not go for 20 billion people or 30 billion people. Forget it. That will be the end of humanity in any case.
Who decides who gets to live and who doesn't? I mean, I certainly don't want the 1% deciding that.
No, but you cannot.
I don't want the government deciding that.
You cannot decide that we are going to one part of the population, all the new babies, hop.
Yeah, that is a frightening situation.
Singapore's solution that they've had for years is you're allowed to, and then you get fined over it. You have to pay.
All right, so population control. The audience was explaining that in Singapore, you're only allowed 2 kids, but that just maintains population. That does not lower the population.
That was the system of China. China was at the time 2 kids, only 2 kids. You can have 2 kids, but those 2 kids, they can produce 2 kids here and 2 kids here, and that makes 4 kids. And it's why today they have the population that they have. And they had not the right to make more than 2 kids. That doesn't stop the population.
Yeah, they were all, they were getting rid of their kids when they were females,
Yeah.
too. They were
Oh
just
yes,
keeping the
beside
male
that,
kids.
beside that, the male were having a good time. But 2 kids is not a solution. Not at all, because then you will have 4 kids, then you will have 8 kids, then you will have 16 kids, and that's what did happen in China.
Well,
exactly.
no, that's not right. That would be, it's one replacement for every parent. So if there's 2 parents, you would have 2 kids, right?
They die. The parents die.
Right. But the one kid that would have the extra kid would be married to somebody, so they would just be, essentially that would be controlling the population, but
You cannot control the population.
I think they're putting stuff in the water to make all males
You
infertile, and
you have to have ways that, I'm sorry to say something like that, but you should not have more children, otherwise once more, if you say you are entitled to 1 child, you will have a boy, and somewhere there will be 1 girl. Up, done. It's impossible to do otherwise. We went from few people to today, I don't know how many billion, 7 billion people. We went from nothing, my dear. From nothing, the population grew, and now they grow like that. because we have that. We are not living in caves, and we have automobiles. We have all that. So now the population, boop, like that. So the population of the world goes like that, and now it goes like that. It
But
goes like that to where?
Do you know how you reduce population, right?
Yeah,
And
well.
this has been proven in
War.
all societies. No, not war. Is when people have a high quality of living, the population generally goes down.
Of course, because I said I give them coffee like that, they will not make love. It's
Right.
because they have no coffee that they make love. So give the people enough to live nicely, and they will eventually make less kids. Absolutely.
Did you know the United States population is at an all-time low right now?
The white people. White population.
The white, well, no. Well, if you, let's exclude immigration because that's artificially pumping up the population. The birth rate in the United States is at like a 30-year low or something like 30 or 40-year low.
Yeah, the birth rate of womb.
Yeah, white people.
The birth rate of womb. You have a lot of American citizens which are not at all American. So that doesn't prove basically anything at all. Yeah, I believe that if you
Italy,
want,
in
you
Italy,
say,
doesn't isn't the population?
you said one thing. You said only one thing, which is absolutely right. Give the people to live correctly, nicely, and they will be less children. Where are the people with 6, 7? Look where they are. People with 6 or 7 kids. Where are they? They are not in America. They are somewhere over there in the middle of nowhere in Asia or in Africa, and because they have no coffee to drink. So instead of drinking coffee, they make love. Give them coffee,
I mean,
and they will make love.
Do other societies have families where there's like 6 or 7 kids, or is that only like a Catholic kind of thing?
No, it's not a Catholic type of thing.
Oh, every
No,
Catholic
no, no,
family
no,
I
no,
knew
no,
when I
no,
was
no.
growing up, they all had huge kids.
No. Maybe in America. Maybe in America, not in France.
It had a reputation in Australia too.
Right.
No.
Because they, now, I come from a fairly big family, 6 kids, but we weren't Catholic, but we certainly had the Protestant ethic, and you were supposed to have a lot of kids.
No, I don't believe that it's a question of that. I don't believe that. I believe it's a question of poverty.
But
Even
what other societies
No.
have
Even the Catholic Church allows, for example, you have something called Doctor so and so. For 15 days, a woman cannot have babies. So you can calculate that. You can. There are a lot of things that the church allows relatively. You are not obliged to have 6 churches because you are Catholic. Not at all.
No, I know you're not obliged, but you're encouraged.
No,
And
you're not encouraged.
the Catholic
No.
Church did not promote any kind of birth control.
No. That's something else. But you can provide pre-birth control.
What's that?
That's that the woman for 15 days cannot have babies. Number one.
You mean not have sex?
No, babies.
Yeah, well,
Can have sex, but no babies.
Well,
Because-
what, every 15 days? That doesn't make any sense to me.
No,
You know, a baby takes 9 months.
No, that's not the problem. The conception. A woman cannot conceive every day of the month.
Right.
No
once,
way.
Once a month they can conceive.
Yes, but in a limited period of time.
And the Catholic Church is saying we're outlawing
Oh, yes.
sex.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, my dear.
I never heard that before in my life.
Because you never did hear it, it doesn't mean that it does not exist. I know that since years and years and years and years. When I was
And they taught that
when
in
I
the
was
church?
when I was taking
They taught that in the church?
oh yes, oh absolutely, officially.
So when there's a full moon, you're not allowed to have sex.
No, it's not a question of moon. No, because you will dream in the moon.
Yeah. I never heard that before. I never.
That doesn't mean that it does not exist, my dear. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no,
I'm sorry. I have learned that because it had been taught to me 80 years ago by church.
In France.
in France.
Yeah. In France, yes. Maybe not in America. We are more in America. We are more.
So champagne sales went down during the middle of the month.
Exactly. So no, but
But
you know.
in France, what's the normal sized family? The average sized family? 2 kids?
Yeah, about yeah, 2
You
kids.
don't know now.
2 kids. It was an accident that I had 4 kids. It was accidental.
Oh, so you weren't listening to the
Yes,
church?
no. It was no. I was not listening to the church. I thought that 2 kids were enough. It's enough to make a family. It was enough. Sorry to say that there was not too much champagne that night, which was a night, wrong night. But
Twins.
Oh, you
twins
had
and twins beside that, twins, not only one but 2. Okay, come on. So, but George, to come back at your first question, at your first consideration, in fact, humanity did advance. When you look at the history of humanity, it did advance by jumps like that, political jumps. It doesn't follow that. It follows for a period of time, then people are fed up, they change something to something
Then
else.
it changes overnight.
Yeah, and it changed overnight because you have some people who are prepared to change. You know, the French Revolution by people like I was quoting Beaumarchais because he wrote a play 2 plays that were absolutely popular like possible, and we were anti-government, they were absolutely anti, and it was applauded like crazy by everybody. So you have the preparation of something to change. You don't know what it is, but the people are fed up. They are ready for something else, and they don't know what. And it goes bad and bad and bad and bad every day until someday something can open their eyes and say, hey, we could do this or we could do that. So in other words, the problem is to spread the words. In my own case with the dialectic of the arts, which is for the first time the positive dialectic as support of a society. For a balanced society, as you make a balanced painting, exactly the same way. The society will be the painting. That's it. You don't paint outside of the frame. You paint inside of the frame, the painting. So all the rules of the painting. But it is the very, very, very first time in the whole history of humanity that a positive philosophy with positive solution is proposed. Now, maybe it will happen, maybe it's too late, maybe forget it. That's very absolutely possible. But there is another thing. The world is going like that on the population, and is going like that on who owns the techniques, in fact, the electronics and all that. Few people here and billions of people here. And those few people, in the same way that we talk about the Industrial Revolution, they can possess all. But then it will be the last one, my dear, because we will be already 8-10 billion people, and you cannot go forever in a world which has only few people who own it and don't care if you eat carrots or not do eat carrots. So the thing is, if something like the dialectic of the arts is not able to take it over and create a balanced society, that's the end of humanity. That will be the end of humanity, and you cannot stop it. Nothing can stop it. Because the people with the money, they don't want to stop it.
But the beginning of the robots.
They don't want to stop
And-
it. They make their money out of that. They don't want to stop it.
We're getting towards the end of the show,
Yeah.
right? Or this week's episode. And there was one last rule that we never went through. Should we take the last few minutes and
Yes.
talk it over?
Go ahead.
All right. So the last general rule, because we don't want to keep people waiting too long.
No. Plus we repeat ourselves sometimes, my dear.
The last general rule, do you know what it is?
healthcare for
Right.
everybody.
Universal health care.
Yeah, I have universal welfare is that the whole population pay for the whole population.
All 7 billion.
Okay.
What if you want to
So,
reduce that?
so you have a tax on your paycheck. You have a tax for the health care. I have a man who told me, "Oh, I don't want to pay for other people." No, he was 40 years old,
But he wants to drive on roads, right?
and listen, he didn't want to pay a little tax every month for the general health care, but he never thought that eventually he could be sick.
Right.
And have a big need of a big thing. And no, he didn't want to pay for it.
But the same guy is paying private insurance, which is the exact same thing as universal health care. Everybody puts into a pot of money.
No. You pay much more money. And it's absolutely insane.
What, with private? Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely insane. When you look at the program of the companies who offers you health care, it's absolutely insane, my dear. It's ununderstandable. And you are just asking, why does that exist? When I'm talking about what you have in few countries in Europe is that you pay. I remember my employees when I had that printing, I was paying 10% of the, and everybody on your paycheck you pay 10%. For example, you pay 10% all your life, 10%. But you go to the hospital, and when I went to the hospital with a friend who really needed an operation and a week in the hospital, they didn't say, "What kind of a society do you have? Can you pay? They just say, "Which doctor you want to do? What is your problem?" And that was it. And only at the end, when coming out, the cashier say, "Do you pay Social Security or do you pay personal check?" That's it. But Social Security covers absolutely everything.
And it should.
And sure.
Nobody should make a profit on somebody's.
No.
Sickness.
But what is absolutely, I fall down when I look at what the company are proposing as healthcare. You have to have healthcare on this, healthcare on that, healthcare on this, and healthcare on that. And then if you have something that is not exactly that, then you will be at your own charge. And that is the most absurd system I've never seen.
So if we had public health care, would it be okay for people to have supplemental insurance?
Why do you need supplemental insurance? For what?
I don't
If
know.
you could, because you
That's
want
the
to,
big argument nowadays. That's the argument in the.
because you will not have enough to pay.
The public doesn't cover everything.
You will not have enough to pay or to.
Well, suppose you wanted to have liposuction.
Oh, well, cosmetics.
Oh no,
Cosmetic.
that's something else, my dear. But that is like if you buy a new pair of shoes. That's exactly the same thing. You buy social, you pair of shoes. Why not? Why not everything then? Why not cut your fingers, cut your nails? No, don't push too much. Huh? You push a little, yeah. No, you ask for things that are absolutely unusual and are maybe sometimes not necessary just for the beauty. No, that's something else. I mean, healthcare for everything that goes wrong in your body. And not only that, the system is that I have a friend we have a friend who is he's a scientist. He almost broke, he hurt in France. He hurt.
Oh, he hurt his knee.
Yeah, he hurt his knee. He went to the hospital. He was next to the hospital when he hurt his knee. He went to the hospital. They took care of him. They rented him a room in the hotel for 2 days because they say, we are not comfortable enough for you here. So they rented the bed and they pay the hotel for him. You do that here?
So
Come on.
if
Here-
folks want a free trip to France, just go
Listen.
over there and stub your toe and.
Listen, here I didn't know. I was not aware of the system. When I came here, I needed to see a doctor. Then he closed the door. I didn't have the insurance, the insurance that he was taking of him. He closed the door. I could have died in his door. He didn't mind.
Yeah, it is
Nobody
crazy.
mind.
Even if you have health insurance, there's no guarantee
No.
that they'll even take your health insurance. I mean, it's
So-
the craziest system in the world, and you can just tell when somebody's just being totally unauthentic is when they start to defend the system that we have now.
So eventually, your 10%, you pay 10%. You will never need. You will never need. Say that you will never need anything special. You will never need your 10%. But you have somebody. 10% would not be enough to pay all that they have. So what is the problem? You pay 10%. It's a common for all the people. That's the community, and you know the community is happy. So why when I saw the system here, come on, those companies it's absolutely. First, you don't understand. And number one, it's absolutely insane.
And the
It's
CEOs are
insane.
in the 1%.
Of course.
So we're coming to the end of the program. Michelle,
Yeah.
aren't you having a birthday coming up?
Yeah, on the 14th of December.
Yeah.
I will be only, my dear, I hardly dare to say it now. I only will be 97.
97 years old. And still got more energy than I got.
I don't believe it. But, and I broke my head. You know that I broke my head a year ago. Huh?
That was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was last year. It was exactly 1 year ago. I broke my head stupidly, but I broke my head. It's always stupid to break your head, but I did. So it has some inconvenience, and one of the inconvenience sometimes is that I cannot remember a few things that I did. I have some hole, somewhere, and that bothers me. I knew very well that, and today, I don't know. I have to, So that's
All right,
that's
so
the
no
problem.
breaking your head this year.
No breaking my head this year, but this year I will start to create, I am going to spread that little booklet of, it's only, images, but very, very, some of them are very, very, very mean. But I believe that nobody...
You're gearing up for the election then, huh?
Yes, dear. I believe that nobody having, if I send when I send my 6-page of dialectic of the arts, I'm not sure that people will read it. Very few people will read it. But if I send a book of images, just only images, and some of them are very funny and some of them are very mean. So I'm sure that the temptation will be to open the book.
So sugar and spice, that's what they get.
Yeah.
Sweet and sour. So if people wanted to send you a birthday greeting, how do they get in touch with you?
As Michel, my email, that would be the best, I believe. Michel Mokers, one word, @gmail.
And if people wanted to get copies of your work,
They
all
ask me
your
for the copy.
publications?
Yes, they ask me, and I will send it to
but you
them.
could go to the website, right?
Yeah.
And the website is?
no-pennies.com.
Okay. And that's where all the political philosophies are. Hey, Michelle, thank you for coming today. That was a very energetic program.
My dear, I don't say that of course, it's number one, a pleasure to be with you, which is one thing. But it is very, very important that we can say things like that. Even if only few people know what we are talking about or listen to us. Once more, revolutions are not made by hundreds, thousands of people passing a street. They are made by few people who know what to say to those people passing in the street and giving them a goal.
Okay. So, folks, you should feel lucky. You're one of the people in the beginning of the revolution.
Absolutely.
And we want to thank you for listening today to Radio Free Will. And join us again next week. We'll bring you more of the
Absolutely.
positive dialectic.
Yes, absolutely.
Bye, all.